I'm Sam Carter. I'm a Paralympic track athlete in the T54 men's category. I've competed in 2 Paralympic Games and 1 Commonwealth Games. I was at a domestic competition series in Blacktown, and it was actually in a relay, and there was during the change that I was going to do, there was an athlete in my lane that I wasn't anticipating, and I didn't have my head up, as I tend not to do when I'm racing. I was going pretty fast. I was going about 35 kilometers an hour. So as you can imagine, going from 35 to, well, my chair stopped at 0. I kind of flew out of my chair and kept going for a little while, but went through the air a couple of meters and hit the track pretty hard on my head. Fortunately, I was wearing a helmet. The helmet didn't survive. I vaguely recall somebody picking me up and putting me back in my chair and pushing me over to the medical bay. That's pretty fuzzy. And then they told me that I'd been in an accident and that they'd called an ambulance. I was taken to Blacktown Hospital and they ran a CT scan. And yeah, diagnosed me with a mild concussion. Initially, my symptoms that I recall, I was pretty disoriented. I developed nausea and vomiting. And yeah, my recollection of the event was pretty fuzzy from the get-go. So the next step was basically involved a bunch of monitoring. So I came here to the AIS to see my doctor and went through some cognitive tests just to sort of track my recovery and see when I could return to training. It took longer than I expected for me to return to baseline and go back to training, but I was glad they were being thorough. This was my first and only concussion to date, fortunately. I think what surprised me most was the length of time the recovery took, as well as some of the symptoms I wasn't expecting. I was pretty emotionally out of sorts for the next couple of days after the incident. And I think initially I put that down to sort of being embarrassed about what had happened. But I think in hindsight, it was definitely, I would have put it down to the concussion symptoms. I hadn't really had any conversations with anyone to that point about what having a concussion or recovering from a concussion would entail. So it was sort of a bit scary, and I was left wondering whether the symptoms I was feeling were normal, what the recovery would look like, how long it would take. So to have spoken to someone, to have something to say that, you know, this is normal, or that, you know, there's a wide spectrum of symptoms that can come about as from a concussion would have been really helpful. If in doubt, sit them out.